I believe it was the influence of that voice or whatever it was. And then after a while, I started to really wonder after some of the murders, if it was God or if it was the devil fooling me.
Taking care of the elderly and helping those in need? Not today. Here are 3 stories of serial killer nurses who almost got away with murder. Number 3. Innocent as a lamb. In March 2018, 33-year-old William George Davis started a GoFundMe asking for donations to help support his family after he was fired from Christus Hospital in Tyler, Texas. He mentioned that his license was suspended and he wanted to clear his name, saying he'd always been hardworking and compassionate and was only fired because of a misunderstanding. But what actually happened? 2 months earlier, Davis was captured entering the room of a patient who was recovering from a heart surgery and leaving shortly after. 3 minutes later, all nurses were called to the room as the patient's condition worsened. Davis is seen standing with them pretending to help. An investigation by the hospital revealed a horrifying trend of at least 7 recovering patients having unexplainable strokes accompanied by large amounts of air in the brain. Unsurprisingly, Davis was present for all of them. After he was arrested, he had a phone call with his wife explaining that he'd been injecting air into patients' brains so they could stay longer at the hospital, which meant more overtime for him and more money.
For someone to do that, kill their patient, and then try again, you have to be the kind of person who has no empathy, who does not care for another person, who is unconcerned with their well-being, who feels no guilt. So to do that certainly 4 times, that's not the kind of person that's just looking for extra shifts.
During his trial, Davis argued that the accusations were false and he just happened to be present at the time, but the evidence was too much to ignore. After 3 years in court, Davis was found guilty of capital murder and is currently on death row. Number 2. The Angel of Death. In 1999, Niels Hogel was working as a nurse at the Oldenburg Clinic, west of Germany. He saw this job as an opportunity to settle down after he just got married and had his first child. But a couple years later, staff members began to get suspicious of him as the number of deaths in the clinic increased unexpectedly. In 2001, the board concluded that 58% of the deaths at the clinic happened while Niels was on duty, and most of them happened in similar conditions. Niels would force himself into emergency cases, give his patients extreme doses of heart medication, causing them to lose consciousness, and then he would try to resuscitate them. Sometimes he succeeded, but most of the time he failed. In December 2006, Niels was charged with attempted voluntary manslaughter after a colleague saw him tampering with a patient's medication pump. He was initially sentenced to 7 years in prison and a lifetime ban from nursing. Before his supposed release in 2014, an investigation looked through all the patients Niels worked with and connected him to at least 30 deaths. Niels then confessed to trying to murder between 100 and 300 patients. In 2015, he was finally sentenced to life in prison. Number 1. Voices say, I do.
Did you feel like you were doing the right thing for these people?
No. I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do, but it wasn't what was right for them.
This is Elizabeth Wetlaufer. She was born into a small community near Woodstock, Ontario, and became a registered nurse in 1995. After multiple short-lived jobs at nursing homes, she landed a job at Carescent Care, a long-term care facility in Woodstock.
What was your addiction?
Hydromark.
And how much were you using?
I was a binge user, so I would use what I could get a hold of.
Okay.
By stealing it from the patient.
Besides alcohol and substance addictions, Wetlaufer was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder.
She pouted a lot and little temper tantrums, like if she didn't get something her own way, like my affection and stuff like that.
Between 2007 and 2016, Wetlaufer murdered 8 seniors under her care and attempted murdering 6 others, all under the same circumstances.
About 9:30, I gave him a dose of 50 milligrams of insulin, not diabetic. And then at 3:30, the PSWs came to me and said that he was gone.
Insulin intoxication is difficult to recognize as a cause of death, something that helped Wetlaufer escape justice for so long. But what was her motive?
I believe it was the influence of that voice or whatever it was. It wasn't a voice in my head, it was a voice in here. But yeah, I just had a sense after my marriage broke up that God was going to use me for something. And then after a while, I started to really wonder after some of the murders if it was God or if it was the devil fooling me.
The voices made her believe that her victims were miserable and needed to be released. In September 2016, she resigned and entered a drug rehabilitation program at a mental facility where she confessed to all her murders. In 2017, Elizabeth was charged with 8 counts of murder, 4 counts of attempted murder, and 2 counts of aggravated assault. She pleaded guilty to all crimes and was sentenced to 8 consecutive life sentences in prison.